Welcome, my friends, to a dead news cycle where 2 days after the Super Bowl, the only thing the media is talking about is the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny more specifically. In fact, I haven't even seen a conversation about the game itself. And to be honest, I bet on Seattle and I won. It's like $50, but I'm happy with it. And I don't even know what happened in the game. I know that it was kind of slow in the beginning. And now we have, as I'm going through the news, preparing to do my morning show, as I often do for all of you, all I see is people either criticizing the Bad Bunny performance 2 days on. Now they're criticizing the criticism of Bad Bunny. Now you've got people who are mocking the criticism, saying it's just tongue-in-cheek, being mocked by the media. And I'm like, is this what happens when you guys run out of things to talk about? And so, my friends, what I bring for you today is welcome to the internet, where much of the outrage is fake and gay, where there are actual concerns and criticisms to have of the Super Bowl, but it is being drowned in a sea of desperate, please look at me. And I love Mediaites right here. This one's so great. Fox hosts claim they're mocking pro-Trump outrage after anti-Bad Bunny rant. Well, it is a somewhat conversational show with a bit of humor that pops up from time to time. Jesse Waters, while he is a somewhat serious of a guy, I say somewhat because he does throw a little bit of snark and commentary and comedy, not so much. Greg Gutfeld, literally a news comedian. And here's where we're at. I'm just, guys, I can pull up so many of these stories. That's the same one. Look at this one from Mediaite. Christopher Rufo eviscerates conservative outrage cycle over Bad Bunny halftime show, mocks those claiming Kid Rock won. Everybody is just trying to figure out what they can say. And so here's what I'm going to show you. This is Mediaite.com. If you're not familiar, they basically cover commentary on news. Like, what are the big news shows saying? Here's what you can take away from it. A lot of drama. So here's one. Ghislaine Maxwell will end up shot in the back of head if freed, congressman. Well, that looks like Tim Burchett. And, hey, there's a story. And then you take a look at everything else. And it's all Bad Bunny. The media is all just talking about Bad Bunny. Now, I understand Mediaite's got other stories here, but let's do this. You've got 3 front-page Bad Bunny stories. And, in fact, even this story about an Irish guy is a picture of him at a football game. But, okay, not a Bad Bunny story. You got, of the 5 top stories, 3 are Bad Bunny. We scroll down. Then we've got in the top 4 next, one of them is Bad Bunny. Then you've got Bad Bunny. Then you've got Bad Bunny. Then you've got Pokemon Go and Epstein. So it looks like Epstein and Bad Bunny. That's all we got. Oh, there's a Nancy Guthrie story. Hey, look at that. Trump shares racist imagery. Oh, heavens me. It's all just about. Here we go. New York Times. Jon Stewart defends Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show. The Daily Show host said it shouldn't be a performer's job to unify the country. Isn't there another person whose job description is much more along those lines? I just can't take it. I just absolutely despise all of these people. Everyone is lying. The performance was not memorable. Maybe in a little bit. Let's just go 100% hardcore truth. Do you remember a single song from the Bad Bunny performance? No. I don't even know. All of the songs blended together for me, and I can say the same thing of Kendrick Lamar to a great degree. My point is this. It was not particularly memorable. It was not unifying. It was culture war fodder. Bad Bunny was politically divisive before the show, talking about wearing a dress, I think he said. He's critical of ICE. You're allowed to criticize ICE. That is always allowed. But this is political activism, which creates a circumstance in which you're going to get this outrage cycle. Then you get the liberals coming out and just lying to make up a reason to defend it. Then you've got you get people on the right. Here we go. Let's do this. Christopher Rufo eviscerates conservative outrage cycle over Bad Bunny halftime show, mocks those claiming Kid Rock won. And even this, I'm just, okay. I don't think anybody is actually taking a look at the big picture, addressing what is going on in this country, and giving an honest assessment. I think this is the most, how do we describe this? This is a lump of styrofoam if it were in news. Chris Rufus says the problem with the annual conservative outrage cycle over the Super Bowl halftime show is it has no impact on the NFL and makes conservatives look weak and left behind. Kid Rock does not change this calculus. He reinforces it, the ghettoization of conservative culture. I'm a right-winger. I love country music, but come on, Kid Rock did not mog Bad Bunny. This wasn't a stunning culture war victory. Advertisers are not going to flock away from the Super Bowl. Conservatives have started lying to themselves and to their audiences. Not good. I largely agree. Self-ghettoization. Nick Fuentes said something similar. But there are many diehard conservatives that want to make this out to be a grand slam. Now, I said yesterday when I talked about this that there's pros and there's cons. And again, I don't think people are being completely honest in what we have here. And the first thing, let me just say to make sure we round this thing out is largely the Super Bowl does not matter. The Super Bowl halftime show matters not that much. Here's my direct criticism of everything. First, to the diehard MAGA people who are acting like they just won and the Super Bowl is going to regret it and all that stuff. Don't count your chickens. Slow down there. I do think it's fair to say that the TPUSA show did so well. It's amazing, and it's business. So let's round this out. Okay, I keep saying that, right? Chris Ruffo's criticism that Kid Rock did not mog Bad Bunny, blah, blah, blah. They're ghettoizing. I can respect that to a certain degree because you've been kicked out of the institution. But if we're talking about this from a pure business standpoint, the halftime show doesn't matter. What matters is running a business, okay? And imagine being like, Coca-Cola used to be bought by everybody, but then they endorse a Democrat, and now conservatives are launching their own cola brand? They only did $2 billion in sales last year. They're not even rivaling Coke. It's like, guys, just slow down there a minute. Let's take a look at the math. Let's take a look at the pros and the cons, the benefits. TPUSA launched a halftime show with Kid Rock and others. It got 28 million. It's going up a little bit more after the fact. Yet that's a business. It doesn't matter if it's about the halftime show or not. The NFL created a circumstance by which a competitor was able to create a small but functional, relative to the Super Bowl, I say small, functional business opportunity, and they're going to make money. It doesn't mean that people are going to flock away from the NFL in terms of ad buys, but the point I made last night is that there's going to be a question advertisers will ask, and that is prestige advertising, ubiquity, or direct sales. This is how it works in the media space. There's two principal kinds of ads. There's a lot of kinds of ads, don't get me wrong, but there's two big kind of buys. There is the ubiquity buy where Pepsi will go to YouTube and say, we literally don't care if people buy Pepsi, just run the ad. It's more of a Coke thing, but Pepsi does it too. I haven't seen a Pepsi commercial in a minute, by the way. But the idea is this. We want everyone to see our brand all the time. We don't track direct sales. We just blast out advertising. Then there is direct sale advertising. So for us at Timcast, when I say something like, my friends, make sure you go to castbrew.com and pick up Dr. Alex Stein's Big Booty Latina Love Potion. Alex Stein is not a doctor. Available for pre-order now. We'll be shipping on the 13th. So we own Cast Brew, so this is not literally a paid spot. However, we do some promo stuff. We sponsored Alex Stein. The goal of these sponsor spots is to sell more than we spend. So that's the two different kinds of ads. So for the Super Bowl, all people want is ubiquity. They want people to know their names. That's the point of the Super Bowl. However, right now, the latest report that's come out is that Bad Bunny had 134 million, I think it's 134.5 million views. And I don't believe those numbers for 2 seconds. The numbers we got the other day was 46.5 million households watched, and that makes sense because that's where we've typically been for a long time. It makes that number makes sense. The numbers they gave for the halftime show was about 26.5 million households watching the halftime show. Now, the question is, what is this 135 number? How does that make sense? Where does it come from? And why should I believe it? And I'm going to tell you right now, I literally don't. What they're probably arguing with 135 million views is, I'll put it like this. Is that all you got? It is estimated that Tim Pool, got over 230 million views on my coverage of Occupy Wall Street. That's right. Thank you and have a nice day. Yep, it's a big moment for me. Now, does that really mean 230 million people watched my face? Maybe, but it means a lot of people walking around in airports, a lot of people in casinos or restaurants or bars. Were they really watching? See, they do this game where, and I gotta throw it out there to Facebook and X too, because it's comparable. People go, did you see someone got 5 million views on X? And it's like, yeah, but there's a big difference between a YouTube view, which takes 30 seconds, where someone clicks the link to the YouTube video to watch for 30 seconds, and a scroll feed view. So this is the point. The show is not that big. It's the Super Bowl, so it's big, of course. But it's not this record-breaking thing that they're all trying to claim that it is. It was somewhat divisive and not a particularly good show. So anyway, let me wrap up the advertising thing. The point is, with Turning Point USA, you're likely going to get, with the size of their show, ubiquity advertising, which is massive. Rumble was talking about this, that it was a CEO, Chris, that, Twitch, I think it was Chris, maybe it was somebody else. Twitch gets ads from big brands, and they don't care if they get conversions. Whereas for Rumble, the advertisers demand conversions because they got to make money. Marketing budget versus direct sales. Turning Point USA doing this show means next year they might be able to get ubiquity advertising, meaning an advertiser who says, I just want my name associated with 30 million views in a day and all of the news coverage that has emerged from this. Jon Stewart says, unifying the country. Is there another, it shouldn't be a performer's job to unify the country? He literally didn't. It was pure division. And it was outrage cycle on all sides. Very, very outraged people on all sides. Here's what really pissed me off, and the reason why I decided to rant on this again in the morning, when I'm sure there's probably other things to talk about. I think there's a reasonable statement to be made about what the halftime show was, what it represents. And I feel like everybody is pretending to be the most outraged possible. So let's say this. It was not a particularly memorable show. A little bit. I think people may end up talking about the power lines blowing up. But, I think there's more memorable Super Bowls. Michael Jackson, of course, is always going to take the cake. And then you had the Creed, one of the 90s that everyone talks about, where the angel guy flies in. And but it was okay. It was great production. Honestly, it was. We had people criticizing the dancing, and I'm like, no, that's fine. The issue is it wasn't unifying, and it was not a show that effectively. Let me just say this, okay? It was extremely bad for the brand. It was extremely bad for the country's culture. It was bad for the NFL. And these liberals are just coming out being like, it was so great. Everybody loved it. The greatest show. Conservatives are pretending to be outraged. And then conservatives, saying like, yeah, yo, we win. Okay, guys. It's like middle of the road, I'm gonna say this about the Super Bowl show. I'm largely over it. I'm a bit frustrated that the only thing anybody's talking about still to this morning is the Super Bowl. But this is what I said yesterday. There is no reason for the NFL to create a competitor opportunity. And that is what Jon Stewart and these libs, who are all claiming it's a big cultural victory, are not accepting. And the hypercritical view of the conservatives, and I'm going to throw shade at everybody because I'm a dick, I guess. The conservatives who are screaming, haha, we did it, we had the best. It's like, calm down there. You have been ghettoized. But then for Nick and Chris being like, you're not winning. Guys, it's all fairly middle of the road. The NFL, by choosing to go with Bad Bunny to do a performance that people can't understand, sorry, that's the truth, created a market opportunity in a way that should not have happened. The NFL should own this time slot. Why give anyone the opportunity to do anything else? They did. So you can mock the conservative outrage cycle. You can say that they're self-ghettoizing, but there haven't been strong conservative halftime shows in a decade plus. So Turning Point USA creating a 30 million viewer opportunity is good business. That's it. All of the cultural stuff aside, all of who's this, who's that, what matters now is that Turning Point is going to be able to sell ad slots. That's it. And they're going to make a lot of money. Money that should not have been able to have left the hands of the NFL. Advertisers are not going to leave the NFL in massive droves, but there are going to be questions from smaller advertisers looking now for an opportunity to get into this space. They've effectively taken what should have been the top of the mountain for television programming and digital streaming forever in American recent history, and they have fractured it into a convention effectively. What's to stop us now from doing the Timcast disaffected liberals halftime show and basically just creating our own miniature market where maybe we get 100,000 views and we book some bands and get some punk rock and we say, we don't care. Listen, there's no reason, again, for the NFL to have created a circumstance by which this business is possible. That is an L, a major L. I think it also is really sad that we are fractured to this degree. But I want to point something out for all these people, too. Again, like, it is frustrating to see liberals, and again, my shade's mostly going to go towards the liberals, just pretending, because the narrative machine told them to, that this was some great cultural victory. Bro, Bad Bunny held the flag of Puerto Rican independence. This is not unifying for anyone. Everybody's pissed, but you know what? Let me put it like this. It was a Super Bowl. And I don't think people cared as much as anybody wants to believe. That's what I actually think. I think right now, the media is running these stories because they're going through the motions. I think the true assessment of the Super Bowl is that it's lost its zeal. It's lost its cultural power. I don't really see anybody talking about the game. I was talking to people about the game. And they asked me which team I was for, and I said the Bears if they make it. I'm from Chicago. Don't really know a lot about football. It was different. I remember in the past few years, there were a lot more conversations in these spaces. We've done a couple. I usually go to the sports books. I hang out at a bar, get chicken wings, watch the big screen. It's fun. And the playoffs had a lot of attention on the games themselves. I think generally, the NFL is losing its luster. That's the better way to put it. And the fake cultural outrage is actually speeding up the demise. That for a while, people have been having, I've heard people talking about that it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be this unifying cultural moment. Jon Stewart's pretending like it is. Liberals are pretending like it is. I'll put it like this. When they wear institutions like skin suits and tell us they're popular, we can see through it. I don't think your moderate, regular American is going, that was the greatest halftime show. I love it. Wow, Bad Bunny was so unifying. I'd be willing to bet any reasonable assessment of your run-of-the-mill American, this includes everybody, immigrants too, they'd be like, I didn't see it. No, I don't know. I heard about it. And they're coming out in the news and saying 135 million views. It is demoralizing. And as I go through the news and I pull up a bunch of stories, and we got a big one. We're gonna do for 4 p.m. Donald Trump trying to get. And it's a much bigger story I could have gone with, but emotionally, I was triggered. Donald Trump tried turning in Epstein. He called the police on him in 2006. This came out of the Epstein files, calling them evil and operatives, and very interesting. And there's a story about ballots in 2020 that they were trying to track, and then the FBI came in and had them all shredded and destroyed. Very interesting. I don't know. I think that the liberal institutions are desperately trying to wear the skin. They're trying to wear the NFL as a skin suit. I honestly think it's over. I think most people don't care anymore. I think that the outrage on the outrage is something to talk about, I guess. And I guess my conclusion on this and what I'm trying to convey is people are burned out. Everybody's kind of burned out. And I think y'all largely will agree. I think people are outraged about being outraged now, and people are tired of being outraged, and they're looking for something else to talk about. But when you come to the point where it is, how would I describe this? The whole after the fact Bad Bunny stuff. I think there's fine things to criticize. I think the idea that it's the greatest show ever is the stupidest thing imaginable. And that's the most frustrating thing to me. But I think it's just, we're at the point where it's like, I get it. Liberals and the narrative machine are going to lie to pump these things up. Conservatives are going to criticize it, and then the media is going to insult conservatives for criticizing it. And then I'm asking, what is even any of this, and why should we care? What is our motivation? Look, in the end, all that matters is the basic math. The show purports to get a ton of views. That's obvious bullshit. Turning Point USA got a lot of views. Looks pretty good. If you go to the average person, they're going to tell you, oh, I don't know, we might, like, I'm sure a lot of people watch the game and they're going to say, I don't remember the halftime show, I don't know. And you're going to go to a lot of people and they're going to be like, I didn't watch the Turning Point USA thing. Most people probably weren't even paying attention. And that's actually what I found when I was watching the game at the sports book. Most people were barely paying attention. And I feel like that kind of epitomizes everything that culturally we're fragmenting and falling apart, and people don't know what they're supposed to care about. That's why you're getting these weird viral posts about mogging foids or whatever the F that means, because everything is breaking down into subcultures of subcultures. And all of this is just a spectacle by which people can signal to their subculture why they're right or wrong. It's demoralizing. I don't know, whatever. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there. I feel largely like all of this is a waste of time. I don't even know why I'm talking about it. But you can subscribe anyway. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next segment.